The gym teacher's hands shake as she sees what's hidden beneath an 8-year-old's shirt. 37 marks. Still bleeding. My dad says this is love, the girl whispers. In 60 seconds, one 911 call will change everything. But what led to this moment? Before we dive in, comment where in the world you are watching from and don't forget to click subscribe. The gymnasium echoed with the sounds of children's laughter and sneakers squeaking against polished hardwood. But Coach Rebecca Martinez heard something else cutting through the noise. A whimper, small and suppressed, like someone trying desperately not to be noticed. She turned from the rope climb station where she'd been demonstrating proper hand positioning to scan the scattered groups of third graders. That's when she saw her. Sophia Chen, 8 years old, standing frozen at the edge of the tumbling mats, with tears streaming silently down her face. Rebecca moved toward the girl, weaving between children, practicing cartwheels and forward rolls. Sophia's small frame was rigid, her arms wrapped protectively around her torso. The fluorescent lights overhead cast harsh shadows across the gym floor, and Rebecca noticed how the other children had created an unconscious circle around Sophia, sensing something was wrong but not understanding what. Sophia? Honey? What's going on? Rebecca knelt down to the girl's level, keeping her voice gentle. Sophia's dark eyes were wide with something beyond simple pain. Fear, Rebecca realized with a cold settling in her stomach. The kind of fear that made children go silent instead of seeking help. I don't feel good, Sophia whispered, her voice barely audible over the ambient noise. Can I sit out? Rebecca had been teaching elementary physical education for 12 years. She knew when a child was faking illness to avoid activities, and she knew when something was genuinely wrong. This was the latter. Of course, sweetie. Come sit on the bench. Do you need to see the nurse? Sophia shook her head quickly, too quickly. No nurse. I just need to sit. As Rebecca guided Sophia toward the bench along the wall, she noticed the girl moving stiffly, each step deliberate and careful. The way elderly people moved when their bodies hurt too much to flow naturally. No 8-year-old should move like that. Did you hurt yourself at recess? Rebecca asked, settling Sophia onto the bench and sitting beside her. I fell, Sophia said immediately, as if she'd been waiting for the question. At home. Down the stairs. Rebecca had heard that excuse before, too. That must have been scary. Did your parents take you to the doctor? Sophia's hands twisted in her lap, fingers knotting together. My mom put ice on it. She said I'm okay. Across the gymnasium, Tyler Rodriguez attempted a running cartwheel that ended with him sprawled on the mat, laughing. His friend Maya Jackson helped him up, both of them giggling. Normal kid behavior. Rebecca looked back at Sophia, who hadn't even glanced at the commotion. The girl sat perfectly still, barely breathing, as if any movement might shatter something fragile. Sophia, I need you to be honest with me. Are you hurting right now? A long pause, then a tiny nod. Can you show me where? Sophia's eyes filled with fresh tears. I can't. Why can't you, honey? I just can't. The words came out strangled, and Sophia pressed her lips together firmly, as if she could physically hold back whatever wanted to escape. Rebecca felt her training kick in. She'd taken the mandatory reporting courses every year, sat through presentations about recognizing signs of abuse. But sitting in a conference room learning about hypothetical situations was nothing like facing a terrified child who was silently begging for help while simultaneously pushing it away. Okay, Rebecca said softly. You don't have to show me anything you don't want to. But I'm worried about you. If you're really hurt, I want to help. Sophia looked up at her then, and Rebecca saw something in those young eyes that made her chest tighten. Resignation. The look of someone who'd learned that help didn't come, that speaking up made things worse, that the safest option was silence. Class ended 15 minutes later. Rebecca let Sophia sit on the bench the entire time, watching as the other children lined up to return to their classroom. Sophia stood carefully, moving toward the line with that same stiff, painful gait. As she passed Rebecca, the coach noticed something that made her breath catch. A thin line of red seeping through the back of Sophia's white t-shirt. just below her shoulder blade. Not a lot. Just enough to tell Rebecca that whatever injury lay beneath was fresh enough to still be bleeding. "Sophia? Wait," Rebecca called out. The girl froze. "I think maybe we should have the nurse take a quick look at that fall you had, just to make sure everything's okay." "I'm fine," Sophia said, her voice rising slightly in pitch. Panic, poorly concealed. "Really, Coach Martinez? I'm fine." The other third graders were filing out now, their teacher Mrs. Patterson holding the door open and looking questioningly at Rebecca. The coach made a split-second decision. "Mrs. Patterson, I'm going to take Sophia to the nurse. She took a fall, and I want to make sure she's okay." "Of course," Mrs. Patterson said, already turning her attention to keeping the line of children moving down the hallway. Sophia's eyes had gone very wide. "Coach, please." "I don't need the nurse. It's just a quick check, honey. It won't take long." Rebecca placed a gentle hand on Sophia's shoulder, intending to guide her toward the nurse's office. Sophia flinched so violently she stumbled sideways, a sharp gasp escaping her lips. Rebecca pulled her hand back immediately. "Sophia. Don't touch me." Sophia's voice cracked, loud enough that Mrs. Patterson turned back, frowning. I'm sorry, I didn't mean..." Sophia clapped her hand over her mouth, tears spilling over again. "It's okay," Rebecca said, her own voice shaking slightly. She touched Sophia's shoulder, the area where she'd seen the blood. "Sophia, I need to see your back." "No. Honey, I think you're hurt worse than you're telling me." "I'm not. I'm fine. Please don't make me..." Sophia's breathing was coming faster now, hitching with suppressed sobs. Rebecca made her decision. "Come with me to my office. Just you and me. No one else." When Sophia hesitated, Rebecca added, "I promise I'm not mad at you. You're not in any trouble. I just want to help." The walk to Rebecca's small office adjacent to the gym felt endless. Sophia moved slowly, each step clearly causing pain she was trying to hide. Rebecca's mind raced through protocols and procedures, through what she was supposed to do in situations like this, but all of that felt distant and clinical compared to the frightened child shuffling beside her. The office was cramped, barely large enough for Rebecca's desk, a filing cabinet, and 2 plastic chairs. Sports equipment catalogs were stacked on one corner of the desk, and a photo of Rebecca's own daughter, Angelica, smiled from a frame near the computer. Sophia stared at that photo as Rebecca closed the door. "Is that your little girl?" Sophia asked quietly. "Yes, that's Angelica. She's 6. She looks happy." The words hit Rebecca harder than they should have. "She looks happy." As if happiness was something remarkable, something not all children experienced. "She is happy." "Sophia, I need to ask you something, and I need you to tell me the truth. Did someone hurt you?" Sophia's silence stretched between them like a living thing. "You can tell me," Rebecca continued. "Whatever happened, whatever is happening, you can tell me, and I will help you. I promise. You can't help." Sophia's voice was flat, emotionless. The resignation was back, settling over her like a heavy blanket. "Nobody can help." "Why do you think that?" "Because that's what my dad says." Rebecca felt ice slide down her spine. "Your dad says nobody can help?" Sophia nodded, still staring at Angelica's photo. "He says families take care of their own problems. He says if I tell anyone about our private family business, they'll take me away and put me somewhere worse. He says I'm bad and I need to learn to be good. He says it's for my own good." The words tumbled out mechanically, as if Sophia had heard them so many times they'd become a script. Rebecca's hands clenched into fists on her desk. 12 years of teaching, and she'd never felt this particular combination of rage and heartbreak. "Does he say this often? About you being bad?" Sophia's voice dropped to barely a whisper. "Every time. He makes me repeat it back to him. I am bad. I deserve this. This is love. He says if I really understood love, I would accept my punishments without crying. He says crying means I'm manipulative, that I'm trying to make him feel guilty for doing what's necessary." Rebecca had to close her eyes for a moment, steadying herself. The systematic psychological abuse was almost worse than the physical wounds. Daniel Chen hadn't just hurt his daughter's body. He'd been methodically destroying her sense of self-worth, conditioning her to believe she deserved the violence. This was beyond strict parenting. This was calculated control. Sophia, I need you to hear something very clearly. None of what your father told you is true. You are not bad. You're a beautiful, smart, kind little girl. And nothing, absolutely nothing, you could ever do would make you deserve what he's done to you. But I forget things sometimes. I leave my shoes in the wrong place. I talk too loud. I get distracted during homework. He says these things show disrespect, that I'm choosing to be difficult. Those are normal things that all children do. All people do. They don't mean you're bad. They mean you're human. Rebecca leaned forward, trying to catch Sophia's eyes. Has he ever told you that you did something right? That he's proud of you? Sophia thought for a long moment. Once. I got 100% on a science test and he said, "This is acceptable. Continue this standard." But then the next week I got 98% on a history test, and he said the 2 points I missed proved I was getting comfortable, losing my edge. That's when She stopped abruptly. Sophia, can I see your back? Please? A long moment passed. Then Sophia stood and turned around. With trembling hands, she slowly lifted her shirt. Rebecca's training failed her completely. No amount of coursework or presentations could have prepared her for the reality of what she saw. Sophia's back was a canvas of violence. Long, angry welts crisscrossed her skin, some fresh and red, others darker and older. A few had split open, explaining the blood on her shirt. The marks were too uniform to be accidental, too deliberate in their pattern. Someone had done this with purpose and precision. "Oh, Sophia," Rebecca breathed. Her eyes burned with tears she couldn't let fall. "Not yet. Honey, who did this to you?" "I was bad." Sophia's voice was muffled, her face turned away. "I got a B on my spelling test. Dad says B's aren't acceptable. He says I'm lazy and I need motivation." Rebecca's stomach churned. A B on a spelling test. A perfectly good grade that most parents would celebrate, and this child's father had beaten her bloody for it. This isn't motivation, sweetie. This is hurting you. This is abuse. No. Sophia pulled her shirt down quickly and spun around, panic flooding her features again. "No, you can't say that. He's just strict. He wants me to do well. Lots of parents are strict. Lots of parents don't leave marks like that on their children. But he loves me. He tells me he loves me. He says this is because he loves me and wants me to be successful." Rebecca had to look away for a moment, collecting herself. When she looked back, she spoke carefully. "Sophia, I believe your dad might think he loves you. But people who love us don't hurt us like this. Love doesn't look like those marks on your back. You don't understand." Sophia was crying openly now. "If you tell, they'll take me away. I'll lose my mom and my little brother. It'll be my fault the family breaks up. Dad says." "Stop," Rebecca said firmly but gently. "Stop telling me what your dad says. I need you to hear what I'm saying. You are 8 years old. Nothing you could ever do, no grade, no mistake, no accident. Nothing deserves what he's doing to you. Do you understand me?" Sophia shook her head frantically. "You're going to call someone, aren't you? You're going to tell." Rebecca pulled out her cell phone. "Yes, Sophia. I am. Because I'm a mandatory reporter, which means when I see that a child is being hurt, I have to report it. But more than that, I'm calling because you deserve to be safe. You deserve to be a kid without being terrified of making a mistake. Please don't." Sophia's voice broke completely. "Please, Coach Martinez. He'll know I told. He'll know it was me. You didn't tell. I saw. That's different. He won't care about the difference." Rebecca dialed 911, her hand steady even as her heart hammered. 911, what's your emergency?" "My name is Rebecca Martinez." I'm a physical education teacher at Riverside Elementary School. I have an 8-year-old student with severe injuries on her back. Multiple lacerations that appear to be from a whipping. The child has disclosed that her father did this as punishment for a spelling test grade. I need police and child protective services here immediately. Sophia sank to the floor, sobbing. Rebecca wanted desperately to go to her, to hold her and comfort her, but she knew that physical touch might cause more pain. Instead, she stayed on the phone, answering the dispatcher's questions while watching Sophia cry. She gave them Sophia's full name, her address that she pulled from the school database, her father's name, Daniel Chen. Officers are on the way, the dispatcher said. Estimated arrival in 4 minutes. Can you stay with the child? Yes, I'm not leaving her. When Rebecca ended the call, she moved to sit on the floor near Sophia, maintaining a small distance. I know you're scared. I know you think this is going to make everything worse. But Sophia, it can't get worse than this. You understand that, right? You're already being hurt. We're going to stop that from happening. My mom, Sophia gasped between sobs. My mom didn't do anything. She didn't know. That was almost certainly not true, but Rebecca didn't say so. We'll figure everything out. Right now, we just need to keep you safe. Tommy. Sophia looked up suddenly, her face streaked with tears. My brother Tommy. He's only 5. If Dad finds out I told... If he thinks I told, what if he hurts Tommy? Rebecca felt that cold fear intensify. She hadn't considered a younger sibling. The police will make sure Tommy is safe too. I promise you they're going to protect both of you. The minutes crawled by. Sophia's sobs eventually quieted into hiccuping breaths. Rebecca found herself talking, filling the silence with gentle reassurances and descriptions of what would happen next. Police would come. They would probably want to take photos of Sophia's injuries. CPS would get involved. It would be overwhelming and scary, but it was necessary. Will I see my mom? Sophia asked at one point. I don't know, honey. That'll be up to the people who investigate. She doesn't hit me. Dad doesn't let her. He says she's too soft, that I'd never learn anything if she was in charge of discipline. Rebecca filed that information away. The father was controlling, isolating Sophia from potential protection. Classic abuser behavior. Does Tommy get hurt too? Sophia hesitated. Sometimes. But not as much as me. Dad says boys are naturally tougher, but girls need to have obedience beaten into them, or they grow up useless. Rebecca had to swallow hard against the bile rising in her throat. The casual misogyny on top of everything else painted a picture of Daniel Chen that made her skin crawl. A knock on the door made them both jump. Miss Martinez? This is Officer Park with Riverside Police. Rebecca stood and opened the door. 2 uniformed officers stood in the hallway, 1 male and 1 female. Behind them, she could see Principal Anderson hovering anxiously. Rebecca, what's going on? The principal asked. I got a call that police were here for one of your students. Sophia Chen, Rebecca said quietly. She has injuries from abuse. Her father beat her with something, left marks all over her back. Officer Park, the female officer, stepped into the small office. She was young, probably late 20s, with kind eyes that immediately focused on Sophia, still sitting on the floor. Hi, Sophia. My name is Officer Jennifer Park. My partner is Officer Mike Thompson. We're here to help you. Is it okay if we talk to you? Sophia looked at Rebecca, who nodded encouragingly. It's okay, honey. Officer Thompson had already pulled out a camera. Sophia, we need to document your injuries. That means we need to take some pictures. We'll be very careful not to touch you or hurt you more. Is that all right? Sophia nodded numbly. Rebecca thought the girl had gone into some kind of shock, her responses automatic and distant. The process of photographing the injuries was clinical and efficient, but Rebecca could see how each flash of the camera made Sophia flinch. Officer Park kept up a steady stream of gentle talk, explaining everything before she did it. When they were done, she helped Sophia pull her shirt back down. Sophia, I need to ask you some questions about how you got these injuries, Officer Park said, pulling out a notepad. Can you tell me what happened? And so Sophia told the story again, her voice monotone and empty. The spelling test. The B grade. Coming home from school yesterday. His father waiting in the kitchen with his belt. Being taken to the basement. The first strike. The second. Losing count after 8 or 9. Her mother upstairs pretending not to hear. Tommy in his room with the TV turned up loud. He told me to think about my failure, Sophia said. He made me stand there for an hour after, to think about how I disappointed him. Then I had to go do my homework. I couldn't lie down last night because it hurt too much. This morning Mom helped me put bandages on the worst ones, but she told me not to tell anyone. She said Dad was just having a hard week at work, and I should have known better than to bring home anything less than an A. Officer Park's jaw tightened, but her voice remained gentle. You did the right thing telling us, Sophia. None of this is your fault. We need to go to the house, Officer Thompson said to his partner. If there's a 5-year-old brother there, we need to check on him immediately. I'll call CPS, Officer Park said. They'll need to meet us there. She turned to Sophia. Honey, we're going to take you to the hospital to have a doctor look at your injuries, okay? What about Tommy? Sophia's eyes went wide again. Please, you have to make sure Tommy's okay. Don't let Dad hurt him. We're going to your house right now, Officer Thompson assured her. Where would Tommy be right now? At school. No, he goes to morning kindergarten. He's home now. With Mom. Sophia started crying again. What if Dad comes home early? What if he finds out you're there? Officer Park looked at her partner. Something silent passed between them. What time does your father usually get home from work? 6 o'clock. He's never late. Officer Thompson checked his watch. It's 10:30 now. We have time. Jennifer, call for backup to meet us at the residence. I want at least 2 more units there when we make contact. The next hour blurred into organized chaos. An ambulance arrived to transport Sophia to Riverside General Hospital. Rebecca rode along, holding Sophia's hand gently while paramedics worked around them. Principal Anderson had called Sophia's mother, Margaret Chen, but the call had gone to voicemail. The school's counselor, Dr. Harris, met them at the hospital. In the emergency room, a pediatric specialist examined Sophia's injuries with a grave expression. 37 distinct marks, she counted. Various stages of healing, indicating this wasn't the first time. Probable use of a leather belt based on the pattern. Recommendation for antibiotics to prevent infection. Recommendation for immediate removal from the home. Rebecca stood outside the examination room, her arms crossed tightly over her chest, trying to process everything that had unfolded in just under 2 hours. She'd come to work this morning thinking about rope climbing technique and whether they needed to order new dodgeballs. Now she was standing in a hospital while a child she saw 3 times a week for 45 minutes was being documented as a victim of severe child abuse. Her phone buzzed. A text from her husband, Luis. Don't forget Angelica has soccer at 4. Can you pick her up? Normal life, continuing on while Rebecca's world had tilted sideways. She texted back. Something came up at work. Can you get her? We'll explain later. The response came immediately. Everything okay? Rebecca stared at the screen, unsure how to answer. Was everything okay? A child she'd taught for months had been living in a nightmare, coming to school every day carrying the physical and emotional scars of systematic abuse, and Rebecca hadn't noticed until today. How many other days had Sophia stood stiffly at the edge of activities, moving carefully, hiding pain? How many times had Rebecca cheerfully encouraged her to try harder, push herself, not knowing that every movement hurt? She typed back, not really, but handling it. Love you. Down the hall, she could hear the murmur of voices. Officer Thompson speaking with someone, probably hospital staff coordinating next steps. The emergency room had that particular smell hospitals always had, antiseptic mixed with something indefinable that made everything feel sterile and cold. Rebecca thought about Sophia lying on an examination table while doctors cataloged her father's violence, reducing it to medical terminology and evidence photographs. The clinical detachment necessary for proper documentation felt like another violation, even though Rebecca knew it was essential. Dr. Harris appeared with 2 cups of coffee, handing one to Rebecca. "Thought you could use this?" "Thanks." Rebecca wrapped her hands around the cup, grateful for the warmth. "Have they finished the exam?" "Almost. The doctor is consulting with a child abuse specialist from the pediatric unit. They want to make sure every injury is properly documented. There's talk of bringing in a forensic photographer as well, someone who specializes in abuse cases." Dr. Harris settled into the plastic chair beside Rebecca. "This is going to be a long process. I hope you know that. The investigation, the legal proceedings, the therapy. Sophia's going to need consistent support. I'll be there, whatever she needs." "Good. Because children in these situations often struggle with trust. She trusted you enough to let you see her injuries. That's significant. You may become one of her anchors through all of this." Dr. Harris approached, her face drawn with concern. "How are you holding up?" "I'm fine." "How's Sophia?" "Physically, she'll heal." The doctor says none of the injuries appear to have caused permanent damage, though some of the older marks may scar. Psychologically. Dr. Harris trailed off, shaking her head. "That's going to take a lot more time and support." "What happens next?" "CPS is placing her in emergency foster care. The police are at the house now." As if summoned by the mention, Officer Park appeared at the end of the hallway, walking quickly toward them. Rebecca could tell immediately that something was wrong. "We have a situation," Officer Park said without preamble. "We went to the Chen residence to check on the brother and speak with the mother." Margaret Chen answered the door with Tommy. "The boy appears uninjured. But when we told Mrs. Chen we needed to speak with her about allegations of abuse, she immediately called her husband." Rebecca's stomach dropped. "And?" "Daniel Chen left work immediately. He's on his way home. My partner is still at the house with Mrs. Chen and Tommy, along with 2 other officers. CPS is en route." "But," Officer Park hesitated. "Mrs. Chen is adamant that there's no abuse occurring. She says Sophia is overly dramatic and tends to exaggerate normal discipline. She's demanding to see Sophia, and she's threatening legal action against the school." "The marks on that child's back are not normal discipline," Rebecca said hotly. "I know that. You know that. The courts will know that. But right now we have a mother who's either genuinely in denial or is actively covering for an abuser, and we have a father who's very angry and heading toward a house full of police officers. We're going to need your statement, Ms. Martinez, about what you observed and what Sophia disclosed to you. Of course. Whatever you need." The next 2 hours were consumed by giving statements. First to Officer Park, then to a CPS investigator named Sandra Rodriguez, who arrived with brisk efficiency and kind eyes. Rebecca recounted everything multiple times, noticing Sophia's distress in gym class, seeing the blood on her shirt, the disclosure about the spelling test, the marks on her back. "You did the right thing calling us," Sandra assured her. "These situations are never easy, especially with a child who's been conditioned to protect her abuser. But that little girl is safe now, because you paid attention and took action." "What about her brother?" "He's being examined at the hospital now. So far, no signs of physical abuse, but we're not taking any chances. Both children will be placed together in emergency foster care pending investigation." "And the parents?" Sandra's expression hardened. "Daniel Chen has been arrested. Officers had a warrant by the time he arrived home. He's being charged with multiple counts of child abuse and assault. Margaret Chen is under investigation for failure to protect. She claims she didn't know the extent of the abuse. But given what Sophia told us about her mother bandaging her injuries this morning and telling her to stay quiet, that seems unlikely." Rebecca thought about Margaret Chen, a woman she'd never met, who'd helped her daughter cover the evidence of abuse and sent her to school anyway. How could a mother do that? How could she know her child was being hurt and not protect her? Fear, usually. Abusers don't just hurt their primary victims. They control entire families through intimidation and isolation. Mrs. Chen may have been a victim herself. That doesn't excuse her failure to protect her children, but it might explain it. Sandra closed her notebook. "You'll probably need to testify eventually, when this goes to trial. I'll do whatever Sophia needs." The sun was setting by the time Rebecca left the hospital, She'd sat with Sophia while the foster care placement was arranged, while CPS workers explained to the terrified child what would happen next, where she and Tommy would be staying. Sophia had clung to Rebecca's hand through all of it, and Rebecca had stayed, even though her principal had called 3 times, asking about paperwork and protocols. Luis was waiting in the school parking lot when she finally made it back to get her car. He must have dropped Angelica at his mother's house, because he was alone. He wrapped his arms around Rebecca the moment she emerged from the building, and she finally let herself cry. "I saw the news," he said quietly. "Elementary teacher reports abuse. They didn't name you, but I knew." "She's 8 years old," Rebecca sobbed into his shoulder. 8. And her father beat her bloody because she got a B. Oh, B, Luis. "You saved her." "Did I? Or did I just make everything worse?" She was so scared. She said telling would make it worse. It couldn't get worse than what was already happening to her. "You know that." Luis pulled back to look at her face. "Rebecca, you gave that little girl a chance at a life where she doesn't have to live in terror. That's everything." They drove home in convoy, Rebecca following Luis's taillights through familiar streets that somehow felt foreign now. She kept seeing Sophia's back, that map of violence and control. Kept hearing the girl's voice. "He says it's because he loves me." At home, Angelica was already asleep at her grandmother's house. Rebecca stood in her daughter's empty bedroom, looking at the scattered toys and books and drawings taped to the walls. Evidence of a childhood filled with safety and love. She thought about Sophia's room in the Chen house, wondered what it looked like, whether there were toys, or if Daniel Chen believed toys were frivolous, whether Sophia had ever felt safe in her own home. Her phone rang. Officer Park. "Ms. Martinez, I wanted to update you. Daniel Chen is refusing to talk without a lawyer. Margaret Chen is still maintaining there was no abuse, that Sophia is lying. But we have the medical evidence, and we have Sophia's statement corroborated by your observations. The DA is confident about the charges." "How's Sophia doing?" "She and Tommy are settled with their foster family. The Hendersons are experienced with trauma cases. Mrs. Henderson says Sophia hasn't stopped talking about you, asking if you're mad at her for telling." Rebecca's heart clenched. "Can I talk to her? Can you give her a message from me? What do you want me to tell her? Tell her I'm proud of her. Tell her she's brave. Tell her that nothing that happens from this point forward is her fault. And tell her that when she comes back to school, I'll be there." When Rebecca finally collapsed into bed that night, she couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the moment in the gymnasium when she'd heard Sophia whimper. What if she'd missed it? What if she'd been too busy with the rope climbing demonstration? What if Sophia had kept silent? But she hadn't missed it. She'd heard. She'd looked. She'd acted. And maybe that had to be enough. 3 days passed before Rebecca saw Sophia again. The school had erupted into controlled chaos when news broke about the arrest. Parents demanded meetings. The district sent lawyers and PR representatives. Principal Anderson had pulled Rebecca aside twice to discuss liability and proper reporting procedures, as if Rebecca had done something wrong by saving a child's life. One parent, Mrs. Wellington, had cornered Rebecca in the faculty parking lot on Tuesday morning. "I heard about what happened with the Chen girl. I just want to say that I think you overreacted. My parents used to spank me with a belt, and I turned out fine. Sometimes these cultural differences get blown out of proportion." Rebecca had stared at the woman, momentarily speechless. Then she'd found her voice. "Did your parents hit you hard enough to leave marks that bled through your shirt 3 days later? Did they hit you 37 times for getting a B? Because that's what happened to Sophia Chen. That's not cultural differences. That's felony child abuse." Mrs. Wellington had sputtered something about not meaning to offend and hurried away. But the encounter left Rebecca shaking with anger. How many people thought like that? How many were willing to excuse violence against children by calling it discipline or cultural tradition? The teacher's lounge had become another minefield. Some colleagues praised Rebecca for her quick action. Others whispered that she'd been too hasty, that she should have talked to the parents first, given them a chance to explain. Rebecca stopped eating lunch there altogether, preferring to stay in her office with the door closed. Mrs. Patterson stopped by Thursday morning before Sophia's return, settling into one of the plastic chairs across from Rebecca's desk. I wanted to apologize. I should have noticed something was wrong. Sophia's been in my class all year, and I missed the signs completely. We all missed them, Rebecca said wearily. Sophia was good at hiding. She'd been trained to hide. Still, I'm her primary teacher. I see her 6 hours a day. You see her for 45 minutes 3 times a week, and you're the one who caught it. Mrs. Patterson twisted her hands together. I keep replaying moments in my head. Times when she flinched if I moved too quickly. Times when she'd hand in perfect homework with shaky handwriting, like she'd been up all night redoing it. I thought she was just an anxious perfectionist. I never considered. You can't blame yourself. Abusers are experts at making their victims seem normal to the outside world. Daniel Chen knew exactly how much he could hurt Sophia without leaving marks that showed in regular clothes. This wasn't your failure. The media descended like locusts. Elementary teacher hero saves abused student ran on local news channels. Rebecca refused every interview request. This wasn't about her. It was about Sophia, who deserved privacy and dignity, not to have her trauma plastered across television screens. When Sophia returned to school on Thursday, Rebecca was waiting outside the main entrance. She'd gotten there 30 minutes early, unable to focus on anything else. The Henderson's silver minivan pulled up at 8:15. Tommy emerged first, a small boy with Sophia's dark eyes and a shy smile. Then Sophia climbed out, moving more easily now but with her shoulders hunched, as if trying to make herself invisible. Their eyes met across the parking lot. For a moment, Rebecca wondered if Sophia would be angry with her for calling the police, for turning her world upside down. Then Sophia ran. She moved faster than Rebecca had ever seen her move in gym class, arms pumping, backpack bouncing. She slammed into Rebecca with enough force to make them both stumble, wrapping her arms around Rebecca's waist and holding on like she might never let go. "I thought you'd be mad at me," Sophia whispered into Rebecca's shirt. "Why would I be mad at you?" "Because I caused so much trouble. Because everyone's talking about it. Because—" "Stop." Rebecca knelt down so they were eye to eye. "You didn't cause any trouble. Your father caused trouble by hurting you. All you did was exist, and you deserved better than what he gave you. Do you understand me?" Sophia's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. Mrs. Henderson approached them, a warm woman in her 50s with graying hair and a gentle smile. "She's been worried about seeing you again. She made me promise to get here early so she wouldn't miss you." "How's she doing?" Rebecca asked quietly, aware that Sophia was listening but needing to know. "Better than we expected, honestly. She and Tommy are adjusting. She still has nightmares, but we're working through it. Last night she woke up screaming, and when I came to her room she asked if I was going to punish her for waking us up. Broke my heart." Mrs. Henderson's voice caught slightly. "But we're making progress." This morning she asked if she could have pancakes for breakfast. First time she's requested anything specific. Usually she just says whatever we give her is fine, like she's afraid to have preferences. "That's actually a good sign," Rebecca said. "It means she's starting to feel safe enough to express wants and needs." That's what her therapist said too. Dr. Kim has been wonderful with both children. Tommy's bouncing back quickly, resilience of youth, but Sophia's going to need more time. Better than we expected, honestly. She and Tommy are adjusting. She still has nightmares, but we're working through it. Mrs. Henderson placed a hand on Sophia's shoulder, and Rebecca noticed that the girl didn't flinch. The therapist says she's remarkably resilient. Rebecca walked Sophia to her classroom, deflecting the curious stares from other teachers and students. Mrs. Patterson greeted Sophia warmly, but Rebecca could see the questions in her colleagues' eyes. Everyone wanted to know what happened, wanted the details. Rebecca had been fielding questions for days, giving the same non-answer. "I saw a child in distress, and I called the appropriate authorities." In gym class that afternoon, Sophia participated for the first time in weeks. Not enthusiastically, but she tried. She attempted a cartwheel on the tumbling mats and fell awkwardly. 6 weeks ago, such a public failure would have sent her into anxious silence. Now, she laughed. It was a small sound, tentative and brief, but it was genuine. Maya Jackson helped Sophia up, grinning. Want to try again? I can show you how to keep your legs straight. Okay, Sophia said. And just like that, she was a kid playing with another kid. Normal, simple, beautiful. After class, as the students filed out, Sophia lingered. Coach Martinez, can I ask you something? Of course, honey. The police lady, Officer Park, she said I might have to go to court. She said I might have to talk about what happened in front of a judge, and maybe in front of my dad. Sophia's voice wavered. I don't think I can do that. I don't think I can see him and talk about it. Rebecca had been expecting this. Sandra Rodriguez had mentioned that Sophia would likely need to testify. I know it's scary. But Officer Park and the people from CPS, they'll help you. They'll prepare you for what to expect. And they won't make you do anything you absolutely can't handle. But what if I freeze? What if I can't say anything? Then you tell them that. There are other ways to present evidence. They have the medical records, the photographs, my testimony. You don't have to carry this alone. Sophia twisted her hands together, that old anxious gesture. My mom called the Hendersons. She wants to see me and Tommy. She says she misses us and she's sorry. Rebecca treaded carefully. How do you feel about that? I don't know. She didn't hurt us. But she didn't stop him either. Mrs. Henderson says I don't have to decide right away. That CPS will help figure out what's best. Sophia looked up at Rebecca. Do you think I'm bad for not wanting to see her yet? No, sweetie. I think you're smart for taking your time. Your feelings are complicated, and that's okay. You can love your mom and still be angry at her. Both things can be true at the same time. That seemed to settle something for Sophia. She nodded, shouldering her backpack. Thank you, Coach Martinez, for everything. You can call me Coach Rebecca if you want, or just Rebecca. A small smile. Okay, Coach Rebecca. The weeks that followed established a new rhythm. Sophia came to school every day. Her grades, which had been perfect before the abuse came to light, remained strong. Rebecca learned from Mrs. Patterson that Sophia seemed less stressed about tests now, that she'd even gotten a B- on a math quiz, and responded by asking for extra help rather than spiraling into panic. Tommy thrived in kindergarten. His teacher reported that he was social and playful, showing no signs of the trauma his sister carried. Rebecca suspected that was partly because of Sophia. The girl had absorbed the worst of their father's attention, had been the lightning rod that kept him focused away from her younger brother. A sacrifice no child should have to make. Chen appeared in an orange jumpsuit, flanked by lawyers who argued that he was a devoted father who'd used culturally appropriate discipline. Rebecca wanted to scream every time they said culturally appropriate. Plenty of parents from Asian backgrounds raised successful children without beating them bloody. Culture didn't excuse violence. Margaret Chen sat in the front row during these hearings, her face carefully neutral. She'd been charged as an accessory, but she'd taken a plea deal, testify against her husband and attend parenting classes in exchange for the possibility of supervised reunification with her children. Sophia had mixed feelings about this. She told Rebecca one day after gym class that she felt like she'd broken her family apart. Your family was already broken, Rebecca said gently. You didn't break it. Your father broke it by choosing to hurt you instead of love you the way you deserved. The day of Daniel Chen's trial arrived in late November. The leaves had turned gold and red, and there was a crisp bite to the air that promised winter. Rebecca took a personal day from school to attend. She'd been subpoenaed to testify, along with Officer Park, the ER doctor, Sandra Rodriguez, and Sophia herself. The courtroom was smaller than Rebecca expected, paneled in dark wood with fluorescent lights that cast everything in harsh brightness. Daniel Chen sat at the defense table looking diminished somehow. Without his control over his family, without his power to terrorize, he was just a middle-aged man in an ill-fitting suit. Rebecca testified first. She described the gym class, Sophia's distress, the blood on her shirt, the marks on her back. The defense attorney tried to paint Rebecca as an overreacting teacher who'd escalated normal discipline into a criminal case. Isn't it true, Ms. Martinez, that you have no children of your own? I have a daughter, Rebecca said evenly. My apologies. One daughter. So you're not intimately familiar with the challenges of raising high-achieving children in competitive academic environments? I'm intimately familiar with the difference between discipline and abuse. And you took it upon yourself to judge Mr. Chen's parenting. I took it upon myself to protect a child who was being hurt. That's not judgment. That's my legal obligation and my moral duty. The prosecutor, a sharp-eyed woman named Allison Garrett, stood for redirect. Ms. Martinez, in your 12 years of teaching, how many times have you reported suspected abuse? This was the first time. The first time? So you don't make a habit of calling CPS on parents who use physical discipline? No. I've seen plenty of children with bruises from normal childhood activities. I've seen scraped knees and bumped elbows and black eyes from playground accidents. What I saw on Sophia Chen's back was not a normal childhood injury. It was methodical, extensive, and clearly inflicted with intent to cause pain and fear. Officer Park's testimony was clinical and precise. She described arriving at the school, photographing the injuries, the investigation at the Chen home. The prosecutor entered the photographs into evidence, and Rebecca watched the jury's faces shift as they saw what had been done to Sophia. Several jurors looked ill. Dr. Raymond Martinez, the ER physician, testified about the medical findings. 37 distinct marks in various stages of healing. Evidence of repeated trauma over an extended period. Marks consistent with being struck with a leather belt. Risk of infection and scarring. His professional opinion. This was severe physical abuse that went far beyond any definition of reasonable corporal punishment. When the lunch recess was called, Rebecca stepped outside for air. She found Margaret Chen standing near the courthouse steps, smoking a cigarette with shaking hands. You, Margaret said when she saw Rebecca. You're the teacher. The one who called the police. Yes. You destroyed my family. Rebecca felt her anger rise, but she kept her voice level. Your husband destroyed your family when he decided to beat your daughter. I just made sure she survived it. You don't understand. Daniel is a good man. He has high standards. He wants the best for his children. He wanted control. There's a difference. Margaret took a long drag of her cigarette. She's my daughter. I carried her for 9 months. I gave birth to her. And now strangers are raising her and my son because of you. No. Strangers are raising them because you chose to protect your husband instead of your children. You knew what he was doing. You bandaged Sophia's back and told her to keep quiet. You made yourself complicit. What was I supposed to do? Daniel would have... Margaret stopped abruptly. He would have what? Hurt you too? So you let him hurt your daughter instead? Margaret's face crumpled. You don't know what it's like. You don't know what he's capable of. Then you should have left. You should have taken your children and run. Instead, you stood by while he brutalized an 8-year-old girl for getting a B. Rebecca turned to walk away, then stopped. I hope someday Sophia forgives you. But I hope she never forgets what you failed to do. The afternoon session began with Sandra Rodriguez's testimony about the CPS investigation, the decision to remove both children from the home, the evidence of long-standing abuse. Then Allison Garrett called Sophia to the stand. Rebecca's heart hammered as she watched Sophia walk to the witness box. The girl looked impossibly small, dwarfed by the formal setting. She wore a blue dress Mrs. Henderson had bought her, and her hair was pulled back in a neat ponytail. She didn't look at her father. Allison's questioning was gentle but direct. She established Sophia's age, her relationship with the defendant, her performance in school. Then she asked about the discipline in the Chen household. My dad was very strict, Sophia said, her voice small but clear. He said I had to be perfect, that anything less than perfect was failure. What happened when you weren't perfect? He punished me. Can you tell us about the punishment you received on October 15th of this year? Sophia's hands gripped the edge of the witness box. I got a B on my spelling test. Dad was waiting when I got home from school. He took me to the basement. He used his belt. Can you describe what happened in the basement, Sophia? The girl took a shaky breath. He told me to take off my shirt and face the wall. Then he hit me with his belt. I don't know how many times. I tried to count at first, but it hurt too much and I lost track. He told me that every time I cried, he'd add more. So I tried not to cry, but I couldn't help it. Several jurors were openly crying now. Rebecca blinked back her own tears. Was this the first time your father hit you with his belt? No. He'd been doing it since I was 6. Whenever I disappointed him. Bad grades, messy room, talking back, being too loud, not eating everything on my plate. There was always something I did wrong. The defense attorney's cross-examination was brief and carefully worded. He couldn't attack an 8-year-old victim too aggressively without alienating the jury further. He asked a few questions about whether Sophia might have exaggerated her injuries, whether she understood the difference between discipline and abuse. Sophia answered each question with the same simple honesty that made her testimony devastating. I know the difference now, she said when asked directly. Mrs. Henderson explained it to me. Discipline is when a parent helps you learn from mistakes. Abuse is when a parent hurts you to make themselves feel powerful. My dad was abusing me. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Rebecca waited in the courthouse cafeteria with Officer Park, both of them drinking terrible coffee and not talking much. When the bailiff called them back, Rebecca found herself shaking. The foreman stood. On the count of aggravated child abuse, we find the defendant guilty. On the count of assault with a deadly weapon, we find the defendant guilty. On the count of child endangerment, we find the defendant guilty. Rebecca closed her eyes and breathed. Guilty on all counts. Daniel Chen would go to prison. Sophia would be safe. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. The judge, a woman in her 60s with steel gray hair and sharp eyes, handed down 12 years in prison. Daniel Chen would be eligible for parole after 8, but by then Sophia would be 16. Old enough to have a voice in whether he could ever contact her again. Margaret Chen's case resolved separately. She pled guilty to failure to protect and received 5 years probation with required counseling and parenting classes. The judge allowed supervised visitation with Sophia and Tommy, contingent on the children's therapist approving and the children agreeing. Rebecca learned all of this from Sandra Rodriguez, who called her the evening after sentencing. I wanted to thank you personally, Sandra said. Cases like this don't always end with the right outcome. Sometimes abusers get light sentences or plead down to lesser charges. Sometimes children are returned to unsafe homes because the system is overwhelmed and imperfect. But this time, we got it right. And that's largely because you acted quickly and decisively when you saw a child in danger. How's Sophia handling the verdict? Relieved, mostly. But also conflicted. She loves her father despite everything he did. Trauma bonding is powerful, especially in children. Her therapist says it'll be a long road to processing all of this, but Sophia's strong. She has a good chance at a healthy future. And the foster placement? Is it permanent? The Hendersons have expressed interest in adopting both children, if reunification with Margaret isn't possible. Sophia and Tommy are thriving with them. Tommy calls them Grammy and Gramps. Sophia isn't quite there yet, but she's bonding. We'll see how things develop over the next year. That night, Rebecca lay in bed with Luis beside her, staring at the ceiling. I keep thinking about all the other Sophias out there, she said quietly. All the kids who are being hurt right now, who aren't lucky enough to have someone notice and intervene. How many times have I missed the signs? How many children have I failed? You can't save every child, Luis said. But you saved this one. That has to matter. It does matter. I know it does. I just wish... I know. He squeezed her hand. But you did everything right. You saw, you acted, you followed through. That little girl is alive and healing because of you. Christmas came with unexpected joy. The Hendersons invited Rebecca and her family to their home for a holiday gathering. Sophia had made Rebecca a card with careful handwriting. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for saving me. Love, Sophia. Tommy ran around the house with Angelica, both of them hyped up on sugar cookies and candy canes. Sophia showed Rebecca her room in the Hendersons' house, painted lavender with bookshelves full of novels and a desk for homework. I got an A on my book report, Sophia said proudly. Mrs. Patterson said it was one of the best she'd ever read. That's wonderful, honey. I'm so proud of you. I got an A, but you know what? If I'd gotten a B, that would have been okay too. Mr. and Mrs. Henderson said they're proud of me as long as I try my best. They said grades are important, but they're not as important as being kind and working hard. Rebecca felt tears sting her eyes. They're right. And you are kind. You work incredibly hard. You're one of the bravest people I know. I don't feel brave. I still have nightmares sometimes. I still get scared when I hear yelling. Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you keep going even when you are scared. You testified in court. You told the truth even though it was terrifying. That's real courage, Sophia. The girl considered this. Coach Rebecca, can I tell you something? Always. I had a dream last night. I was back in the basement with my dad and he had his belt. But in the dream, you came down the stairs. You stood between me and him, and you told him he couldn't hurt me anymore. And he couldn't. He just disappeared. Sophia looked up at Rebecca with those dark, serious eyes. I think my brain knows I'm safe now. I think it's starting to believe it. Rebecca pulled Sophia into a gentle hug. You are safe. I promise you, you are safe now. Margaret Chen attended her first supervised visitation with Sophia and Tommy in February. Rebecca heard about it secondhand from Sandra Rodriguez. Sophia had been nervous but willing to try. The visit lasted 30 minutes. Margaret cried. Tommy hugged her immediately, but Sophia kept her distance, sitting across the table in the visitation room with her arms crossed. Why didn't you protect us? Sophia had asked her mother, according to Sandra's account. You knew what he was doing. Why didn't you make him stop? Margaret didn't have a good answer. She gave the same explanations. She was scared. She thought it would get better. She didn't know it was that bad. Sophia listened with a neutral expression. I love you, Margaret had said desperately. You know I love you, right? I know you think you love us, Sophia replied. But I don't think you know what love is supposed to look like. It was a brutal assessment from an 8-year-old, but it was also accurate. Margaret left the visitation in tears. According to her counselor's reports, the encounter had been a wake-up call. She'd finally started acknowledging her role in enabling the abuse. Spring arrived with blooming flowers and longer days. Sophia's nightmares decreased in frequency. She joined the school choir and discovered she had a beautiful singing voice. Tommy lost his first tooth and proudly showed everyone the gap in his smile. The Hendersons officially filed adoption papers in April. In May, during gym class, Rebecca organized a field day with various stations. Relay races, long jump, tug of war. Sophia participated in everything, laughing and cheering with her classmates. At one point, she attempted the rope climb that had been set up on the first day. Rebecca had noticed her distress all those months ago. Sophia made it halfway up before her arms gave out. She slid back down, landing on the mat with a soft thump. For a moment, Rebecca held her breath, watching for signs of the old anxiety, the fear of failure. Instead, Sophia grinned. I'll get higher next time, she announced to no one in particular. I just need to practice. Rebecca watched her run off to join the tug-of-war team, and something settled in her chest. Relief, pride, hope. This was what healing looked like. Not perfect, not complete, but moving forward, growing, becoming. The school year ended with an awards ceremony. Sophia received recognition for academic achievement and most improved in physical education. When her name was called, she walked to the stage with her head high. The Hendersons cheered from the audience. Margaret Chen was there too, sitting in the back, still working toward redemption that might never fully come. Rebecca caught Sophia after the ceremony. I have something for you. She handed the girl a small wrapped package. Sophia opened it carefully. Inside was a journal with a purple cover, Sophia's favorite color, and a note that read, For all your brave thoughts and wonderful stories, keep being amazing. Love, Coach Rebecca. Thank you, Sophia whispered, clutching the journal to her chest. For the present. For everything. You did the hard part, Sophia. You survived. You healed. You kept going. Only because you saw me when I was invisible. Only because you cared enough to help. Rebecca knelt down to Sophia's level one more time. You were never invisible, honey. You were always worth seeing, always worth saving. I just hope you see that in yourself now." Sophia nodded, tears streaming down her face, but she was smiling. "I'm starting to. It's hard, but I'm starting to." That summer, Rebecca volunteered with a local organization that trained teachers and coaches to recognize signs of abuse. She told Sophia's story, with permission, to hundreds of educators. She emphasized the importance of paying attention, of trusting instincts, of acting even when it was uncomfortable or inconvenient. "Child abuse hides in plain sight," Rebecca told audiences. "It walks into our schools and sits in our classrooms. It shows up to gym class and struggles through the day in pain. Our job is to see it, to really see it, and then to do something about it." After one particular training session, a middle-aged man approached her. He introduced himself as Marcus Whitfield, a high school biology teacher from across the district. "I want to thank you for sharing that story. I have a student right now, junior, brilliant kid, but he's been showing signs, flinching from sudden movements, wearing long sleeves even in hot weather, making excuses about injuries. I've been telling myself I'm probably overreacting, that I don't want to destroy a family over nothing." "But," Rebecca prompted, "but your story made me realize that I'd rather overreact and be wrong than underreact and leave a kid in danger. I'm calling CPS tomorrow." Rebecca felt a surge of something that might have been hope. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. And even if you're mistaken, a thorough investigation won't hurt a family that's actually safe. It'll only hurt abusers who have something to hide. Marcus nodded, his jaw set with determination. "I won't let another day go by." "Thank you." 2 weeks later, Marcus sent Rebecca an email. The student he'd reported had been removed from an abusive home. The boy's stepfather had been arrested for assault. "You saved more than just Sophia," Marcus wrote. "You taught the rest of us how to be brave enough to act." Rebecca saved that email in a folder with Sophia's letter and dozens of others from teachers who'd attended her trainings. Evidence that one moment of courage could ripple outward in ways she'd never anticipated. In August, Rebecca received a letter from Sophia. The girl's handwriting had improved, more confident now, taking up space on the page without apology. "Dear Coach Rebecca, Mrs. Henderson helped me write this because I wanted to get it right. I wanted to tell you that I'm happy now. Really happy. Not pretend happy like I used to be at home when Dad was watching. Real happy that comes from inside. Tommy and I call the Hendersons Mom and Dad now. It feels right. We see our birth mom once a month. She's trying really hard to be better. I don't know if I'll ever forgive her completely, but I'm trying to understand. My therapist says that's enough for now. I start 4th grade next week. I'm not scared about making mistakes anymore. Well, I'm a little scared, but not like before. Now I know that mistakes are just part of learning. They don't mean I'm bad. They just mean I'm human. I still think about that day in gym class when everything changed. I was so scared when you said you were calling the police. I thought my whole world was ending. But really, it was starting. My real life, the one where I don't have to be afraid all the time, that started the day you saw the marks on my back and decided to help me. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for saving me. Thank you for showing me what it looks like when a grown-up chooses to protect a kid instead of hurting them. I want to be a teacher when I grow up. Just like you. I want to help kids who are scared and hurting. I want to see them the way you saw me. Love, Sophia Chen Henderson. Rebecca read the letter 3 times, tears blurring her vision by the end. She tucked it carefully into a frame and hung it in her office at school, a reminder of why she did this job. Not for the salary or the summers off or the easy hours, but for the Sophias, for the children who needed someone to see them, to believe them, to act on their behalf when they couldn't act for themselves. When school started again in September, Rebecca saw Sophia in the hallway, surrounded by friends, laughing at something Maya had said. Sophia spotted Rebecca and waved enthusiastically. Rebecca waved back, watching the girl disappear around the corner toward her classroom. Some endings aren't really endings at all. They're beginnings dressed up in closing chapters. Sophia's story didn't end the day Rebecca called 911. It didn't end with Daniel Chen's conviction, or the Hendersons' adoption, or even with that letter. The story continued every day that Sophia woke up safe, went to school without fear, made mistakes without terror, and learned that she was worth protecting. And Rebecca's story continued too, forever changed by a moment in a gymnasium when she'd heard a child whimper and decided to pay attention. Some people go their whole lives without making a real difference. Rebecca had made one when it mattered most, and she carried that knowledge forward into every day, every class, every interaction with every student. Because you never knew which child might need someone to see them, which child might be crying during gym class, hiding marks that told a story of violence and fear. And when that moment came, Rebecca would be ready. She would always be ready to see, to listen, to act. She would always be ready to save the Sophias of the world.